When people think of Phil Robertson, they picture a bearded patriarch, faith-forward speeches, and a family built on duck calls and devotion. But behind the jokes, the controversies, and the cameras, Phil was quietly building something far bigger than fame. As the years passed and his health declined, the Duck Dynasty star focused less on television and more on what he would leave behind. And when the details of that legacy finally became clear, it shocked even those closest to him. Phil Robertson didn't just leave money. He left a fortune wrapped in lessons, conditions, and deeply personal choices. Family members expected wealth, but what they discovered instead forced them to confront uncomfortable truths about sacrifice, responsibility, and faith. Some were moved to tears not because of how much there was, but because of how it was divided and why certain decisions were made. Those closest to Phil say, he planned every detail carefully, guided by beliefs that mattered more to him than comfort or approval. What was meant to be a final act of love also became a moment of reckoning, proof that Phil never stopped being the same man he'd always been, even at the end. For the Robertson family, opening that legacy wasn't just emotional. It was life-altering. What Phil left behind reveals more about him than any TV episode ever did, and why his family struggled to hold back tears when the full picture finally came into focus. Phil Robertson wasn't born with a silver spoon. In fact, the young man who would become the face of Duck Dynasty grew up surrounded by the murky waters and thick cypress trees of West Monroe, Louisiana. Hunting, fishing, and living off the land weren't hobbies, they were necessities. Yet even as a boy, Phil had a spark that set him apart. An unyielding determination to carve his own path. No matter how unconventional it seemed to others. By his teenage years, Phil was already a skilled hunter, known for his precision with a rifle and his uncanny ability to read the land. But it wasn't just survival skills that defined him. Phil's sharp wit, strong opinions, and unapologetic faith made him stand out in a community where conformity often ruled. He didn't just live in the swamp. He understood it. He respected it. And he drew lessons from it that would shape his entire life. The leap from swamp hunter to reality TV star might seem improbable, but for Phil, it was a natural extension of his personality. His hunting skills caught the attention of business-minded family members, and together they launched Duck Commander, a company specializing in duck calls. What started as a small, humble business soon exploded, capturing the imagination of outdoor enthusiasts and eventually the broader public. When Duck Dynasty premiered, viewers were introduced to a family that seemed larger than life. Phil, with his long beard and strong convictions, became an instant icon. But behind the humor, reality TV glitz, and charismatic interviews was a man who had spent decades mastering his craft, building a business and staying true to his values. The fame brought money, lots of it, but it also brought responsibility, public scrutiny, and a complicated family dynamic that money alone couldn't solve. By the time Phil reached his late 60s, his fortune was substantial. Yet it wasn't just the size of the bank account that mattered, it was the story behind it. Every dollar reflected years of hard work, sacrifices, and the choices of a man who refused to compromise his principles. For the Robertson family, Phil's legacy wasn't just wealth. It was a blueprint for resilience, ingenuity, and staying true to oneself in a world that often rewards the opposite. As closes, it's clear that Phil Robertson's journey from swampy childhood to multi-millionaire reality TV star is a story of grit, vision, and an enduring love for the land that shaped him. But even as the fortune grew, the challenges it brought, both emotional and practical, were only beginning to emerge. Money changed everything, but not always in ways the Robertson family expected. By the time Phil Robertson's fortune reached staggering heights, it wasn't just a symbol of success, it became a heavy responsibility. Phil's family, once accustomed to simple Louisiana life, suddenly had to navigate the pressures of wealth that attracted public attention, family disagreements, and the constant scrutiny of fans and critics alike. For many, inheriting a fortune seems like a dream come true. For the Robertsons, it was bittersweet. Phil had always been vocal about his principles, emphasizing hard work, humility, and faith above all. While the money was earned through decades of dedication, it also came with unspoken expectations. How would the next generation manage it? Could they uphold the Robertson legacy without losing themselves to greed or public spectacle? These questions weighed heavily on Phil's children and grandchildren. Beyond family expectations, the fortune exposed them to the glare of celebrity culture. Suddenly, every decision, business deals, public statements, even casual comments was analyzed and judged. The Robertsons had gone from a private family to household names overnight, and with that fame came a new type of pressure: the need to protect the family's reputation while managing a multi-million-dollar empire. For some family members, it was thrilling. For others, it was overwhelming. Phil himself understood these dynamics intimately. He had always preached the importance of faith and staying grounded. Yet, he also recognized that his wealth could complicate family relationships. Arguments over business, inheritance, and responsibility were inevitable. Even as they laughed on camera and celebrated milestones together, the Robertsons had to navigate difficult conversations behind closed doors, decisions about money, roles in the company, and the future of Duck Commander itself. Yet, despite these challenges, Phil's fortune also brought opportunities. Family members were able to pursue passions, support charitable causes, and invest in ventures that reflected their values. The money was not just a burden, it was a tool, a means to continue the legacy Phil had built from nothing. But using it wisely required discipline, communication, and, above all, a respect for the man who had started it all. As this closes, it becomes clear that wealth is rarely just a reward, it's a responsibility. A test of character and sometimes an emotional challenge that no amount of money can solve. For the Robertson family, Phil's fortune is both a blessing and a burden, and learning to balance these conflicting realities has been as much a part of their story as the fame and business success that put them on the map. Phil Robertson's fortune is more than numbers on a ledger, it's a reflection of a lifetime of choices, values, and vision. But wealth, as he and his family have learned, is never just about comfort or status. It carries weight, responsibility, and, at times, emotional strain. For the Robertson family, Phil's legacy is as much about the lessons he imparted as the money he left behind. The family often speaks of Phil not just as a businessman or TV star, but as a teacher. His lessons about faith, hard work, and integrity have been passed down with every business decision and family conversation. Yet, the emotional impact of his fortune cannot be ignored. Some family members feel pressure to live up to the Robertson name, fearing that missteps could tarnish the empire Phil spent decades building. Others wrestle with the fear of losing the simplicity and authenticity that defined their early lives. It's a delicate balance, honoring the past while forging their own paths in the shadow of immense wealth. Despite these challenges, Phil's influence remains a unifying force. He has always emphasized the importance of family over money, reminding them that the fortune is merely a tool to support their dreams, help others, and maintain the principles he holds dear. It's a lesson that resonates deeply, particularly when disagreements arise over business ventures or the direction of Duck Commander. The fortune could easily be a source of division, but Phil's guidance often brings perspective, encouraging the family to focus on shared values rather than solely on financial gain. Beyond the family, Phil's fortune has allowed the Robertsons to make an impact on their community. Phil has invested in charitable causes, supported local businesses, and helped fund educational opportunities for young people. His wealth is not hidden in private accounts, it is active, purposeful, and reflective of a man who understands that true legacy is measured in the lives one touches, not just dollars accumulated. As the story of Phil Robertson's fortune continues to unfold, it is clear that the emotional journey for his family will persist. Money may provide comfort and opportunity, but it also demands careful stewardship, understanding, and humility. For the Robertsons, navigating this balance has been a profound experience, filled with joy, challenges, and hard-earned wisdom. In the end, Phil Robertson's greatest gift may not be the fortune itself, but the lessons embedded within it. His life exemplifies the power of dedication, faith, and staying true to oneself, even when faced with fame, wealth, and public scrutiny. The Robertson family carries not just his wealth, but his principles, humor, and resilience, qualities that will guide them long after the cameras stop rolling and the world moves on. The fortune may make his family cry, sometimes out of pressure, sometimes out of gratitude, but above all, it symbolizes a legacy built on love, hard work, and unwavering principles. Phil Robertson's story proves that wealth is far more than money. It's a responsibility, a reflection of one's life, and a testament to the enduring power of family. By the time Phil Robertson's fortune reached its peak, it had transformed from a symbol of success into a deeply emotional force for the Robertson family. While wealth brought comfort, security, and recognition, it also carried a hidden price, one that touched every corner of family life. The fortune, which many would envy, became a mirror reflecting both pride and anxiety, revealing just how complex family dynamics can become when millions are involved. For Phil's children and grandchildren, the emotional weight of the inheritance was impossible to ignore. Each of them faced the challenge of balancing gratitude with the pressure to honor their father's vision. The money was a blessing, yes, but it also demanded responsibility, self-discipline, and careful decision-making. Any misstep could have repercussions, not only for the family business, but for their own personal reputations and the legacy of Duck Commander itself. It was a delicate dance, enjoying the rewards while respecting the principles and hard work that had created them. Phil himself understood this better than anyone. He had always preached humility, faith, and dedication. But he also knew that the fortune he built could test the family's unity. Arguments over business decisions, distribution of assets, and long-term plans were inevitable, even as cameras captured laughter and the playful antics of Duck Dynasty. Behind closed doors, the family grappled with real-world challenges that wealth inevitably brings. Yet, there was also beauty in the lessons the fortune taught. It offered the family a chance to grow stronger, to learn patience, and to navigate the complexities of life with both wisdom and empathy. Phil's guidance, his insistence on faith, honesty, and hard work provided a moral compass that grounded the family in times of stress. The money was never an end in itself. It was a vehicle for teaching values, supporting loved ones, and ensuring the Robertson legacy endured for generations. Beyond family dynamics, Phil's fortune has had a ripple effect, enabling charitable initiatives and community support that reflect his lifelong priorities. Scholarships, local business investments, and philanthropic projects have allowed the wealth to extend far beyond personal comfort, creating a positive impact that aligns with the principles Phil has championed for decades. As closes, it becomes clear that Phil Robertson's fortune is more than a collection of assets. It is an emotional journey, a test of character, and a legacy intertwined with family love, faith, and resilience. The tears it inspires are not just for the pressure it brings, but for the gratitude and pride of being part of something far bigger than oneself. In the end, Phil Robertson's story proves that wealth, while powerful, is only meaningful when paired with values, guidance, and love. His fortune has the power to make his family cry not from loss, but from the profound realization of what it represents: decades of sacrifice, lessons in integrity, and a legacy that will endure far beyond the spotlight.